Welcome to Talkin' Ball. It's Jack here, and today we're going to be doing another 2016 NBA draft profile focusing on Tyler Ulis. Tyler Ulis is a 5'9" point guard from the University of Kentucky. He's weighing in at around 160 pounds right now, so he's obviously got some room to add on to his frame. Now let's go over some stats from this past season for Mr. Ulis. He had 17 points a game to go along with 7 assists and 3 rebounds. He only turned it over 2 times a game despite running the offense. Even though there are 2 other guards at Kentucky in Jamal Murray and Isaiah Briscoe, Tyler Ulis was the one tasked with running the offense for the majority of the time. He also only committed 2 fouls a game and got around 1.5 steals. And this was all during a court time of around 37 minutes per game. Shot 43% from the field on around 12.5 attempts, 34% from 3 on 4.5 attempts, and 86% from the free throw line on around 5.5 attempts again. So that 3-point percentage is something that he struggled on this year. Last year he shot over 40%, and I think it was more to do with he had a bigger share of the offense this year. He didn't get as many wide open looks and had to create for himself a lot of the time. So his percentage was down. Also, he just didn't shoot it as well. Let's be honest. He just had a down shooting year. I think he has a very pure stroke though. He's got good form on it. So I think it's not something to be too worried about going forward, but it is something I am going to mention later on in the video. All right, so let's talk about some of Ulis' strengths. So he offensively and defensively, he's a great leader. It doesn't matter. He's definitely the heart and soul of that Kentucky team. And even last year, you saw glimpses of it. I just don't think he had it there all the time, being a backup behind the Harrisons. But at times, he would take over when he was in good form, playing well in that game. He would take charge of the team. On offense, specifically, he's a great passer. He sees the court really well. What this leads to, he's a great lob passer. I mean, he's had the benefit of playing with a bunch of near 7-foot players or very athletic players at Kentucky and got a lot of practice at it. But he is very good at it. He puts it right by the edge of the rim and allows the player to go up and get it. And he's especially effective in transition. In transition, Tyler Ulis is lethal. I mean, he is a blur out there in the open floor. He is fast, but very under control. Yet no times do you really ever see Ulis out of control. That's something that if you watch him enough, you notice. He's always in control of what the situation is. He has good sense of awareness as a point guard of the flow of the game, when to speed it up, when to slow it down. Ulis really does a great job of managing the game as a point guard. Another thing that he's very good at is in the pick and roll. He's very good at knowing when to shoot the ball for a 3 off a pull-up, when to dump it down low to the big man. He tends to make the right decisions in his pick and roll decision making. Now on defense, he's a very pesky defender, albeit an undersized one. He uses his leverage well to get underneath offensive players rather, and create steals and turnover opportunities. He's very good at reading passing lanes as well. When the ball's coming back from the inside out, he's very nifty at trying to lure a pass out so he can deflect it and start the transition. He's very good in that sense. So let's talk about some of his weaknesses. Ulis, as everyone would say, would be a top 5 pick if he were 3 to 4 inches taller. It's got to be said. He's only 5'9", maybe 5'8". We'll see what he's officially at the combine. But Ulis just isn't that big. So it's going to be a detriment to him throughout his career, but I just don't see it being the biggest problem for him. I think he's going to be able to overcome this, and it's not going to be that much of a worry. We've seen lots of guys in recent years in the NBA, especially Isaiah Thomas, really thrive even though they're undersized. And I'll get into his comparison later. I don't want to compare him to Thomas actually just because they're both small guards. It just serves as a reference point that this can be done, although it's rare. Now, Ulis, his three-pointer, that's the thing that he's going to need to really improve on Thomas doesn't even shoot that great of a three-pointer for the Celtics currently, but Ulis, I think, is going to need that three-pointer in the NBA. He can shoot really well. It's just a question of how is he going to create separation in the NBA. And it's not just from the other guard, remember. It's from the 6'7" wing closing in, and it just becomes a problem when, he's 5'9". So it's going to be interesting to see. However, if anyone's going to figure out how to do it, it's going to be Tyler Ulis. So again, it's not the biggest worry of mine. I think eventually he will figure it out. Now, where's Ulis being projected? Currently, I've seen him anywhere from picks 20 to 35, so meaning like mid to late first round, honestly, more in the late first round area and to early second. I honestly would not be surprised to see him go in the late lottery. I think some team may take a chance on him because he's just so talented, and this year there's just not that much talent in the draft. So if there's a year you're going to take a chance on an undersized point guard, I think this would be the year to do it. And especially on a guy like Ulis, who is going to come in, work hard, and you can already tell he's got some NBA skills. He's already and he can defend on the NBA level. I know his size may hurt him, but it's very rare nowadays that the point guard's going to take you down low and post you up if you're undersized. It just doesn't happen as often. And so because of that, the smaller guards have been able to do very well in today's NBA. So they're not going to take so much of an advantage of his size, and therefore I think he'll do really well, actually, in the NBA. And someone who I want to compare him to, but I don't want to get carried away with it either, is Chris Paul. And I mean this from a playing style sense. I don't mean this as he's going to be the next Chris Paul, because I think that'd be really unfair to Tyler Ulis to put that expectation on him. But as a player, right? I mean, Chris Paul's really only 5'11". He's not that much bigger than Tyler Ulis. And they're both, at least in Chris Paul's the beginning of his career, before he had some injuries there, they're both great athletes, like world-class athletes, very fast, can jump better than you would anticipate, stronger than they look, they're quick, and they defend at very good levels. And the thing that also jumps out to me is they're both pass-first point guards, which is not something that you see all that often, but they are capable scorers. As you saw this year, Ulis averaged 17 points a game, which is not something many people would have said at any point. Even last year, when people were clamoring for him to start over Harrison, no one really thought he'd be a 17-point per game scorer. They could see him maybe the 7 assists. I'm sure people definitely could see happening, but the 17 points is a little staggering. Even though Kentucky needed guys to step up, it's still a very strong number for Ulis, and that's kind of part of the reason. Chris Paul, he's not he also really isn't. He's not looking to score all the time. He will do it, and he's very good at it. And that's kind of my comparison. That's the reasoning for my comparison with Ulis. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Chris Paul, and I really want to put an emphasis on that because, again, I think that's just unfair and not what I'm looking at for Tyler Ulis. It'll be interesting to see how the lottery plays out because I think that's going to determine where he ends up. I think any team that needs a point guard should really take a look at Tyler Ulis. I think he's going to be in the NBA for many years to come. But all right, guys, that's what I think about Tyler Ulis. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much.